Hello,
Hello, right. We're back.
we are.
So, welcome to the Body Love Binge.
And Fly to Freedom. I feel like we need a little theme tune. We'll have to have a think on that.
Don't know. I was doing the fear of weight gain workshop yesterday, and I asked for some feedback, and it was like silence, and then I just went doodle 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 doodle, and all the English people knew what I was saying, and all the others just looked really blank.
Did anyone talk after that?
No, I just moved on. But it just made me laugh that I just went "Diddle, diddle, diddly, did,
That's
doo."
the countdown,
And yeah,
right?
it is countdown, yeah. And nobody knew.
Well, if
So
anyone listening is like a musician and wants to create a little, a little theme tune for
jingle?
us,
I think it's called a jingle.
a jingle.
A jingle.
Makes
That's what they use
sense.
for like adverts is
Oh,
jingles,
yeah.
I think.
We can have a jingle going on if someone would like to create one for
That
us.
would be quite awesome, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
it would. All right, let's dive in. Shall I go first or shall you go first? I don't mind.
You started talking first, so go
As
first.
probably per usual, people are saying. Per usual, Victoria. Okay, so Rebecca says, I'm becoming so frustrated when I don't act in alignment with my own values, not just with food, but in other life areas too. For example, if I imagine a fully recovered self scenario, like having a croissant and latte before getting my nails done, I can't do the first step. Then the whole thing feels impossible. It happens daily. I know what I want, but I keep panicking and bailing on myself. It's driving me insane.
Okay. So, what is the fear underneath? You said you can't. The word can't is instantly slamming the door in your own face.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, um, but what's the fear? What is it that's stopping you? Write it down, take it out of your head, because in your head it just kind of twists and grows and swirls around and just, yeah, morphs into something
Mm.
overwhelming. But write it down and look at the fear, and then decide whether you want to follow that fear or whether you want to follow love. But taking it out of your head, I think, is incredibly important, and looking at what the fear is
Yeah.
and not using language that stops you, like can't.
Yeah. Instead, say, I won't.
Yeah, because it is a choice.
Yeah.
You're not helpless.
And then so her example was having a croissant, getting her nails done. That's what her higher self would, paraphrasing here, higher self would do. And she talks about
Hmm.
values. I would say for her to write her values down and then ask who she needs to be. If she were the person living in alignment with those values, what is she not being now? So for me, it looked like commitment. So I wasn't being committed. And then to be committed to facing fear, you need to be courageous. So then write down when you were last committed in your life and when you were last courageous to give your brain a bit of like, hey, we can be these things. And then, for lack of anything else to say, you just have to do it, right? What else can we say around just doing it anyway, even in the fear?
Yeah, because the fear is going to be there, the anxiety is going to be there,
Mm.
and you have to allow yourself to feel it. You have to sit in the suck
Mm.
and let those feelings be there, and then notice that even though it was horrible and it properly sucked, the world didn't end
And
and nothing bad
you've acted
happened.
in alignment with who you say you want to be, which is worth
Yeah.
celebrating.
And you got through it because you can do hard things.
Yes, love that.
Okay, right. Let me see what questions I have. Okay, let's go with Sue first of all.
Hi, Sue.
How how to accept fullness and not constantly associating it with the feeling of dirtiness and the feeling of an empty stomach with feeling clean,
Mhm.
even to the point of a normal bowel movement not being enough. I need a complete clean out to feel clean and thus feeling thinner.
Well, she will need it if she keeps telling herself she needs it.
This is true.
So again, the
It's back to that
language,
empowering language.
yeah, language, it's like it's so important. So if we're saying, I need a complete clear out until I feel okay, or whatever it was, then that's the story she's telling herself, and she'll live into that story. And so, and again, this goes back to the last question, again, both of them, everything, change the story first. You won't believe the story to begin with, but create a bridging story. So let's say, Stu, you start off by asking yourself, what would the opposite story to that current one be? If that feels too unbelievable, create a bridging story. It might be something like, it's not that I need a clear out to feel okay, it's that I think I need a clear out to feel okay. It's just because I've done that in the past and it's linked to the eating disorder. So therefore, and this here comes my answer, it's practicing being uncomfortable, which we don't like to do because we try to avoid discomfort at all costs. Because I've been there with me and Sue have a very similar story in terms of like that feeling empty and the laxative abuse. It's there's no way around it apart from to practice being really uncomfortable and telling yourself a story that serves you. Like what helped me, it sounds so factual because it is, but when you have a plate of food in front of you and then you eat the food, well, this volume of food then goes inside you. So you're not supposed to feel light or supposed to have a flat stomach because you've just put this, what you need, inside of you. And so you're
Yeah,
going to feel something inside of you, and that's the point. So I tell myself factual things like, this is nourishing me, I actually need this. And it's not true that I can only be okay if I feel empty. And then with exposure therapy over time, I promise you, because I've been through it myself, it changes. So now I can do the opposite and have a good meal where I feel full physically and kind of rub my belly as if I've got a baby in there and just feel really like, oh, that was like, that just really hit the spot. Like I feel emotionally satisfied and physically satisfied and mentally satisfied and I'm full and it feels good. So you can go from being where Sue is to where I am and it being like a positive thing to be full.
absolutely. And also, you can notice that you can't notice when somebody else is empty or full.
True. From the outside. Mm.
From the outside, I can look at you now and I have no idea how you're feeling hunger wise,
Yeah,
whether you're empty, whether you're full. And also, that has nothing to do with whether you're clean or not. And
exactly.
so, none of those thoughts come into my head when I look at you.
Yeah.
The only person I can know how they feel physically is me.
Yes.
But what's true for everybody has to be true for me because I'm not a unicorn.
Yeah. It's an internal game always, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Internal game. So keep digging, keep acting the opposite of what the fear wants you to do, and you will get there. You will be uncomfortable though, but it is.
Yes. But think about the first time you started taking those laxatives.
Mm.
I bet you felt really uncomfortable. I bet it felt really wrong. I bet it actually probably felt really dirty.
Mm. Oh yeah, because of the way what happens when you do those
Yeah,
things.
I bet what you're now saying makes you feel clean probably made you feel really dirty to
Mm.
begin with and really uncomfortable.
Mm.
And you practiced it and you practiced it and you practiced it until you turned those feelings on their head and flipped them
Yeah.
and created a comfortable clean from the uncomfortable dirty.
Yes.
You can flip it back.
Yeah. And also she would have kept a story alive, a
Yeah,
meaning alive of being empty of food in my tummy and bowel means these things that isn't
yeah.
true, aren't true, but it feels true. But you can change all of that. Consistency.
And so by living that story and repeating it again and again and again, she created it
Yeah,
as her reality.
yeah. So she can
So
create
all
it.
uncreate it, do the same thing that she did in reverse.
Yes. Love that. Right, where's my next one? I've got that many things. I've not got a very organised desktop this morning. Here are my questions.
Oh, I've got a dog either side and mud everywhere,
Oh.
so don't worry about
Well, Heather says, what is the next step if you are the problem and if you've tried everything but don't put it into place, even though you want to? Fear, insecurity, and lack of inner strength drive every choice, even though you don't want it. What's next? So I will say that Heather, let me find you again. Where are you? Yeah. Heather, I don't want to say she's stuck. She feels and thinks and believes she's stuck in this place. And I'm sure many of your clients come to you in the same place too. She wants all these things. She knows what she has to do. I kind of a bit like the first question, but she's not following through because I know Heather quite well. It's not her just being like, I can't and not doing anything. I think anything puts her in a panic zone. Her nervous system is just in panic with the smallest little thing. So her question is, what does she do with all of that?
With that, if the slightest step starts putting you in your panic zone, I would first of all start practicing feeling safe.
Mm,
Start practicing thinking about change and reminding yourself that you're safe.
yeah.
Reminding yourself that you can have different thoughts and still be safe.
Mm,
Constantly taking time to be present, to come back to your breath, as soon as we're in the panic zone, our brain has spiraled off somewhere else. We're not present at all.
mm.
So noticing what's around you. Say, I'm thinking about lunch and I can see my phone and I can see two dirty dogs and I can see my reflection and I can hear
Me.
birds singing and you. And I can smell, to be fair, I can smell dog.
Yeah.
I can smell dog and coffee. And using our senses, when we're using our senses, we cannot help but be in the present moment.
Mm,
So as soon as she starts to feel that overwhelm each time, coming back to the present moment,
yeah.
and even doing something like coloring or something that's creative, because creativity switches off anxiety.
Mm,
And so it doesn't matter if you're thinking about food or actually taking the action of eating food. If you're doing something else and not thinking about the food while you're eating the food, as it were, if you're
yeah.
distracting yourself by doing coloring, by stroking a pet, by doing something else that makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
So bring in elements of safety to everything to help stop yourself spiraling into this panic zone.
Yeah. That's great advice. And it actually led me to think, as you were sharing, to spend time visualizing herself. Let's say she's in bed
Mm,
tonight and she's a teacher. She's at school teaching tomorrow, and she's watching herself in her vision, showing up for the class, going for a snack, and like watching herself do it before she does it. And even if it takes her a few weeks to then follow through with the vision, at least she feels safer. A very good point you're making, huge, because her brain sees it as familiar, even if she's not done it yet. There
yeah,
are things
this is
I
how
do.
athletes do things. They visualize the race over and over and over again
Yes,
because our brain doesn't know whether we're physically doing it or it's in our imagination. It still
exactly.
triggers the same parts of our brain.
Yeah, so if she imagines herself, let's say, eating lunch, for example, at school, and at the same time she's showing her nervous system she's safe by breathing or grounding or like whatever it is that relaxes her, that's going to help her then. And she still will feel fear, obviously. It will
Mm,
help her, though, to take the action anyway. And the last thing I'll add, because I know Heather, and I don't think she'll mind me sharing this. I know in general in life, especially with her job, she's so not happy with a job primarily, and it causes a lot of stress and it takes a lot of time. So I know it's like a big life thing, but change your life, change your big life things, because I know it's a huge thing, but what other choice do you have? Like, create a life that helps you to feel safe and relaxed. Everything will have a consequence. Let's say it's less money, but what's more important, less money or less anxiety?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
And one last thing I'd just add to that is to have a tactile something, a fidget toy,
Yeah,
a
I've seen that.
sticky bit of rolled up tape or something that you can use your touch senses as soon as you have any form of anxiety
Mm.
coming up, to bring you back to the present.
Yeah. And anchor that into something relaxing so your brain creates a connection of, oh, I feel this, and then therefore my nervous system starts to relax and ground.
Yeah. I used to have a crystal in my pocket all the time.
What if you don't have a pocket though?
Necklace.
Oh, yeah, you have a beautiful crystal necklace. Indeed, that will help.
Which I didn't bring on this trip because I didn't want to lose it.
Oh, have you not got it at all with you?
No, but I have got random little crystals
Yeah,
around, so.
I've got some behind me, always somewhere. 11:11
Okay,
in my time, so angel time right now. Just thought I'd notice that 'cause whenever I see it, I always acknowledge it.
I'm at the same time zone
Oh,
as
you
you at the
are, of
moment.
course, yeah.
Okay, so I'm always full. I think this is from, I don't know, somebody beginning with R. I'm always full and still not hitting my calorie target. Stressed about not having enough fruit and veg, no room. And she's given me the reference of the current calorie goal, which is approximately a third of your basic minimum.
Oh, right, so not much at all.
Not much at all. So, yeah, so she's always full and still not hitting her target, but she's stressed about not having enough fruit and veg
All
and she
right.
has no room.
So, first of all, what does fruit and veg mean? Are you telling yourself a story that it's healthy, you need it to have longevity? I mean, I don't know, I'm kind of guessing here, but why is it so important that she gets fruit and veg in? Maybe it's something to do with digestion. Let's go along with the health route because I'm just going to assume that's what it might be.
Mm. Yeah, I would assume that as
Yeah.
well.
What's most healthy for you right now is to forget the fruit and veg because that will come back. Take supplements if you're concerned about not getting the vitamins and minerals, and just eat whatever you're craving. And I don't know if she's got cravings because she's not said, but it sounds like she's starving, she's malnourished, she's in a calorie debt. So if she's able to connect with not even physical hunger necessarily, because I'll go into the fullness in a moment, mental hunger, is she thinking about croissants or cookies? Go and eat them, and then create a story, a reassuring story that the fruit and veg will come back because it will. But the most healthiest thing she can do for herself right now is most probably eat a lot of processed foods if that's what she's mentally hungry for. So to let go of the fruit and veg story, that's one thing that's going to serve her. I'm always full. Really? Actually always full? Or are you always emotionally discomfort when you have something inside your body? Because I used to think in recovery, oh my God, I'm always full, I'm always bloated. But now I know what normal feels like, believe it or not. Part of me is somewhat normal around food and digestion.
I'd say nothing.
So now I know, like I was saying with Sue's question, like what food actually is supposed to feel like in your body. I was now seeing, or back then I was seeing that I was equating to anything inside my body as full, over full, too much, not normal, always full. But actually, I just eaten food and I felt it inside my body. It doesn't even mean that I was full. So you need to get used to what having food inside you actually feels like, and remind yourself it's normal. So I would actually not argue, but for lack of a better word, argue that she's not always full, especially because of the number you didn't share. But let's say she was on a super high meal plan, maybe she would then physically be always full, and that's a different conversation. So I would just see, are you emotionally full? And you have problems about the physical feeling of food in you, or are you genuinely full? If you're genuinely full, so I don't want to just disregard her experience, then eat anyway, because the body will get used to it, the stomach will stretch, the body cares most, first and foremost, about getting enough food, then it cares about how you feel depending on what and how much food you eat. And then the last part of the question, have I answered everything, do you think?
Yeah, yeah. So I had a different experience because I came from, you kind of work your way through several different eating disorders before
Yes.
you went into recovery. I came from really quite severe restriction.
Yeah.
And I did really struggle with physically feeling incredibly full
Mm,
almost continuously when I started renourishing. And I get the fruit and veg thing because we're sold this, or you should have at least 5 a day and they're really good for you and stuff.
mm,
But I found that I couldn't fit in food and these supposedly healthy things that I needed to have.
mm,
And because I didn't have any hunger signals, but I certainly seemed to have fullness signals, um,
interesting.
I really struggled with this feeling full all the time. And you hit the nail on the head when you said what is healthy in society, but what is healthy for you may well be different things. And if you are in recovery from a restrictive eating disorder, the things your body needs is not fruit and vegetables,
Mm-mm.
because that's the hardest things for your body to digest. That will not increase your gut motility. It will not help your digestion. The thing that helps your digestion most is actually fat.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm glad you've shared that because most people think it's only fiber and they just focus on fiber.
Yeah, but fiber's really hard to digest.
Yeah.
And for a digestive system that's already stressed,
Mm.
you're making it much harder by having the fruit and vegetables. So, because I knew that it was do or die, I had to recover. I hated and really struggled with feeling so full.
Mm.
I decided, right, so volume of food in my stomach is a problem. How can I get as much bang for my buck as I possibly can?
Yeah.
How can I have as many calories as possible in the smallest volume?
Yes.
And when I switched to that, when I switched to having peanut butter, butter, cheese, just everything I could find, like I used to just like chop up nuts and put them in melted Nutella and
Mm.
stuff like that, to just get as many calories as possible in as small a volume as food as possible.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point where I could have a huge amount of calories without feeling like it was going to come out of my
Yeah.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
But you also need to get to the feeling of full to signal to your stomach, to signal to your brain that food is plentiful and it can start adjusting.
Yeah. And your body adapts. And that reminds me when I was in recovery, when I got over the fear of weight gain, which I was still working on, I would rather have had, because feeling anything inside me was like, I think the hardest thing to overcome through any of the eating disorders, actually. I would rather choose 1,000 calorie milkshake than a 600 calorie salad, that the salad would make me feel really full. So I
Yeah.
even got to the stage where I was so afraid of fullness, just so this person feels understood from me as well, that I would rather have the higher calorie one because I wanted to avoid the fullness. And now I'm okay with being full. So that's good, if she's willing to do what she needs to do and have more
Yeah.
calories. I've even had clients get tubs of Ben and Jerry's and melt them and just drink them, because that's 1,000 calories
Liquid calories
easy.
liquid calories are also really, really helpful.
Yeah, and oils and things like that. So it's working on all those things we've shared. And also, again, exposure therapy. Your tummy does get used to it. You do understand what fullness means, and then your body starts to regulate and all the things.
Yeah. But you need that feeling of fullness to signal to your body that
Yeah,
it can start adapting.
yeah, and it's
And
enough.
you can get a lot more calories by having a lot denser food,
Yeah,
which is going to help you and going to make your recovery a lot quicker. And the idea of it is more scary, but the reality of it is actually simpler.
it's like a fast track to recovery. It's
Yeah,
like if you're at Alton Towers, anyone in the UK will know where that is, and you've got the normal queue, which is like 2 fucking hours or something, and you can go and get a fast track that's 30 minutes. Fast track
yeah,
it.
yeah. But it costs you more, so you're paying more calories.
Indeed. Love that.
Yeah.
Right. Where's mine again? Here we are. The next one is from Emily. And Emily says, my mother is extremely fat phobic. Oh, Julia, something in common for me too. For years, I believed my worth was based on my body size. I've recovered the food piece, amazing, but still seek external validation and approval to feel okay. How do I start loving and accepting myself without needing external input? It's so ingrained that I'll be rejected if I look a certain way. Help.
Okay. I'm sorry you went through that experience.
Mm.
And unfortunately, so many people do. So many of us were brought up to be fat phobic,
Yeah,
and we live in a fat phobic society. So it does all come down to, you said you wanted to be self-compassionate and self-accepting, and it all comes down to literally just doing that,
yeah.
to just be it, even though it feels fake and it feels unfamiliar and it feels like you're lying to yourself.
Mm.
I'm imagining that even when you get this external validation, you somehow devalidate it.
Is that a word or
Somehow
is that a made up word like mine?
it could well be invalidate. That's it.
You did
Invalidate
a
it.
Victoria
It was
then.
made up. But invalidate it. Yeah, you somehow invalidate it or devalidate it.
I like
Both will
that one
work.
better.
um, and I used to do this all the time, like, oh, well, they're just being polite, or just kind of, yeah, invalidating it.
Yeah.
And so you're never going to feel truly accepted just by looking for external validation, because you're not accepting yourself.
Mm.
So it's treating yourself as though you do accept yourself. It's using the language, using the words, using the compliments that you would give to other people and the validation that you would give to other people to yourself. And yeah, it's going to feel wrong and it's going to feel uncomfortable and it's going to feel fake. But if you create, just close your eyes and think about the person you want to be. Think about how she speaks to herself, how she acts, and write it down. And then start doing that. And essentially, you're then rehearsing being that person. And the more you rehearse, the more you become her.
Mm. And then you're no
So,
longer acting anymore because you are.
exactly.
Yeah. And I,
And although it feels fake, it's not, because it's not fake if it's how you want to be.
because you're creating that.
Yeah.
And then a few things, a quote, if you always rely on other people, the external world to nourish you, you'll forever go hungry.
Yeah.
And so, like you're saying, nourish yourself, metaphorically speaking, and let's face the fear together. She has a fear of other people judging her, including her mum. They probably will. I can see
Yes.
my mum look me up and down. I mean, she loves me in the way that with everything she has, in the way that she knows how to love. But I can see when she's checking me out in terms of, oh, is she like? I can just see her looking at me. I can feel it, and I can see her eyes. And now I'm just like, I don't actually care whether she thinks I'm fat, thin, whatever. Like, I don't care. So it's not avoiding the fact that people will probably judge you. It's doing the inner work enough to really not give a shit whether they do or not.
Yeah, because people are going to judge. They will judge you on your gender.
Mm.
They will judge you on your size. They will judge you on your age. They will judge you on your finances. People will judge.
Yep.
I used to judge people on their body size,
Me too.
and that came from my deep insecurity. It had nothing to do with the people I was judging.
Yep.
It came from my fears and my insecurities. And that's all judging is somebody projecting their own fears and insecurities.
Yes. That's it. So if you do the inner work, which I know she's doing, 'cause she's in my program and she's done the food stuff, she's doing the deeper stuff. it is really, like Julia said, creating who you want to be and then acting as if. And then what happens is two things. Number one, what Julia said, you will just be that person and you'll no longer be acting. And the second thing, let's say your ideal version of you is someone who is confident. So no matter what body she's in, she walks with her shoulders back and her heart open. And she shows up that way in the world, people will respond to you differently because your energy of openness and confidence will be received differently regardless of your body size. And if you were kind of trying to stay small and not take up too much space and, saying sorry, and everything changes, including how people respond to you. People will still judge you, we're not immune to that, but it won't come into your energy as much when you show up differently. And then there's inner child work to do, like you started off saying, like you sorry she had that experience, because there's a wounded part of you that or just wants your mother's approval, and that for her it means to look a certain way. So there's some inner child work and healing to do as well.
Yeah. And with, I mean, dealing with the relationship with your mum, I think is one of the hardest ones to deal with,
Yes.
because we all want our mum's approval. I mean, I'm 51 and I'd still quite like it, you know.
Same.
We
Same.
all want it. But her mum is fat phobic and she is trapped in that cage.
Yeah.
And we can't free her mum from that cage. Only her mum can do that. So rather than feeling like it's an attack on you, see it that your mum is trapped in her own cage of conditioning,
Mm.
and you can be grateful that you no longer have to buy into that bullshit.
Yeah. And you get to have freedom and your mother doesn't. And it's sad. One last thing, this is really helpful for me, it was anyway, because we have very similar stories with our mothers, both of us. Sounds like Emily
Yes.
too. I love my mum to pieces, but I would start asking myself when I felt emotionally unstable or emotionally hurt, depending on what she said or didn't say, or didn't validate or did validate, I would be like, would I want to swap lives with my mum? Would I want to have my mum's emotional and mental state? No, thank you. So therefore, I'm just going to let that just wash over me because I don't want what she has. So that just to ask myself that question, to remind myself, I don't want what she has. I love her, but I don't want to be her, made it easier for me to just let it go and just not
Yeah.
care.
And the phrase hurt people
Yeah.
is so incredibly true.
Yeah.
But also healed people heal people.
Mm-hmm.
And without me really doing anything but just healing myself and living my life as the version of me I want to be, my mum has stopped constantly dieting, has just accepted the size she is,
Wow.
and has started to notice, be more present, be more enjoying the birdsong, noticing her surroundings, and much less catastrophizing. And that's just because healed people heal
Mm.
people. So she's seen it, she's seen the change, and she's taken it on board.
Yeah. So be the
So your healing can be the catalyst for your mum's healing as well,
yeah.
because it overflows and the energy spreads out,
Mm.
which is really rather cool, right?
It's amazing. It's like the butterfly effect, isn't it? It's like when
Yeah.
you smile at someone in a shop or something, you have no idea the effect you've had on their life because then they might then do something to someone else in their life. Like we're so significant with everything
Yeah.
we do or don't do. That's why this is a bit of a tangent, but I really do want to be in the world and make a difference. So even when I was working in a bank, all these they had like a group of these people where people wouldn't want to serve them because they're smell or they're old, or and I would love to serve them. They'd actually start asking for me because I was like, how can I make this person smile today? And if I had a grumpy customer, I was like, right, challenge, how can I make this customer laugh? So you have a big effect on people. It
Yeah.
starts with you always.
Even just smiling at someone in the street or saying good morning, you might be the only person that does that to them that day or that week, and it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, indeed.
So do what makes you feel good, and then that ripples.
It does. We're at the end of the hour. Shall we do one more from you?
Okay.
Let's do one more. And then any other questions that I've not answered, then we can do them on the next one.
Okay, let me have a look. What looks good? Why is the guilt worse after eating rather than during the action of eating?
Because you're allowing your brain, or you're giving, no, let me reframe that, because your brain's going to do what your brain's going to do. Good luck controlling your brain. But what I would say is going on here is during eating, maybe you're focusing on the pleasure of the food, which is great. Maybe you're distracted doing something else, which isn't a bad thing. But I'm curious as to why. Why, when you've eaten, is the guilt stronger? I assume the brain's thinking thoughts like, you shouldn't have had that. Why did you do that? Why, like almost regretting what you've done. First of all, this has come to me to ask, is that a pattern of yours? How you do one thing is how you do everything. Do you often do something and then wish it would be different? I'm just curious if this person has a general pattern in their life of doing something and then beating themselves up about it afterwards, or wishing it was different, or just reminiscing on what's just happened. Just look at that if that's a pattern. And to overcome this, focus on something that serves you. The thoughts will come, the feelings will come. Okay, cool. Like Tabitha Farrar says, get ready for the feelings of guilt because they're going to come knocking and running anyway. So you're not surprised that you feel guilty after you've eaten. You're like, okay, well, here's the guilt that I expected. And then look at where your thoughts are. Are you spiraling with, shouldn't have done that? Why have I done that? I used to replay what I'd eaten over and over again all day. And then in bed, I'd do a whole replay about 10 times of what I'd eaten that day. In the morning, I would do it again from the day before, then I'd start that day. So it's like a constant thing over and over again. So if you notice you're doing that, stop, ground, like Julia shared, like what can you see, smell, hear, touch, whatever. Ground, breathe, focus on something else. And she says in her book, Tabitha Farrar, eat and move on, or something like that. Eat and forget. That's what she says. Eat and forget. So, in order to forget, you have to distract yourself and do something else, because it's impossible to feel so much guilt and remorse and have all these spiraling thoughts if you're actually focused on gratitude and presence. You can't have both at the same time. So, where are your thoughts? And then why is the guilt? Like you've literally just eaten. There's nothing wrong or bad about eating. It's a positive.
Yeah, it's the overthinking, isn't it? It's the overthinking what you've done. During the action of eating, you're focused on doing.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, your brain is free to run away with all these thoughts. And you're absolutely right. Gratitude and presence and stuff is amazing. But I played this really weird game in early recovery when I was eating, and all the thoughts would come in. Um,
Are you laughing at Dave or your dogs or just your memory?
just my memory.
Oh.
I tried to outsmart the eating disorder.
Hmm. So you're trying to outsmart yourself because the eating disorder was wired in your brain.
Yeah. So I was trying to outsmart it. So before I ate, I would be like, right, I'm going to have this. And the eating disorder is going to tell me this, and
Mm.
this, and give me all these bullshit things the eating disorder was going to tell me. I used to write them down. And then I'd eat the food. And then afterwards, when the thoughts come in, it'd be like, ha, right, tick that one off.
Oh.
Got ya.
That's hilarious.
And so I could end up, it was like I was playing this game with the eating disorder where I would feel quite smug because I predicted correctly everything it was going to say and could cross it
Mm.
off the list.
Yeah.
And it took away the fear of those thoughts.
Because you were almost, like you said, playing a game with it and ticking them off.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good way of doing it. Then also, it would be even funnier if when the thought came, you would reframe the thought into like a Donald Duck voice or a
Yes.
squeaky. high pitched voice, and then it just takes that like heaviness away because it just sounds ridiculous, and you're expecting it on your list and it sounds ridiculous as well because it is ridiculous.
Yeah, you could like draw a cartoon character with a big speech bubble with all these bullshit things
Yeah,
and then cross them off
it's a good
and
idea.
then just say, gotcha, you fucker.
Yeah. And then let's focus on freedom and what I actually
Yeah,
truly value in life, like connection and love and authenticity and freedom. I've said it twice because it's just ironically my top value, but I have a 10-month-old and I'm choosing to parent in a way that just gives me no time. So maybe it will come in my top values one day again. And then
yeah,
on that note, we will end the recording. And we haven't answered all of them, but it's because we decided to have half an hour catch up before our recording because we needed it, some bestie
we
time. So we're not sorry about it, but we will answer your questions on the next one.
absolutely. They will be there at the top of the list. Any that were put in today that didn't get answered
Yes,
will be the first ones to be answered next time.
I will. So sending you all so much love. And as usual, share, tag us, and all the things. We love to hear that, your takeaways from these episodes.
Yeah, lots of love.
Bye, love.
Bye.